Louie T, welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, I told y'all to be careful in these social media streets this time of the year in particular. It's really, really nasty out there, and it's dangerous, and you can get got very easily. And a number of you got the other day, and this was running rampant through Commander's conversations and channels abound. Brandon Aiyuk, who is right now in a contract dispute with the San Francisco 49ers, looking for a brand new deal. 49ers don't seem all that thrilled with the prospects of having to pay him top dollar, which his play on the field kind of reflects that he's going to get paid big money here shortly. And they just paid Deebo Samuel, and they've already paid George Kittle, and they're paying Trent Williams. And I don't know if they're in a position to invest further in that offense. You're paying Christian McCaffrey as well. So I think they're trying to find a way to get this done, but I think all signs kind of point to Brandon Aiyuk getting dealt. That said, they went through this exact same thing with Deebo Samuel. He unfollowed the San Francisco 49ers, requested a trade, and then cooler heads prevailed. He ended up signing a long-term deal with the 49ers, all is well. I don't think that's what's going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk, however. Now, he could end up back in San Francisco, but this is standard protocol for guys who are unhappy with their contractual situation with the team. You unfollow them. That's your way of showing that you're not happy and you're open to moving on, right? Standard operating procedure. That said, I only bring this to your doorstep not because of the falsehoods that were being spread the other day. And we talked about this before. A lie spreads a lot quicker than the truth on social media. And somebody had tweeted out that Brandon Aiyuk was following the Commanders. False. Okay. Don't allow yourself to get got out here in these streets. And so many people sent this to me as if it were true. He doesn't follow a single team in the NFL, and his social media is not very active. You can clearly see in the post that the person that they, cross-referenced didn't even have the same amount of followers as Brandon Aiyuk does. So it's all false. He's not following the Commanders, and he doesn't follow the 49ers for that matter. That said, all right, he has unfollowed the 49ers, and I only bring this to you because Adam Peters was once in San Francisco with Brandon Aiyuk. Adam Peters was once a part of the Brain Trust that traded up into the first round, I think 25th overall, to select Brandon Aiyuk. He knows Brandon Aiyuk. He's very fond of Brandon Aiyuk. Clearly thought he was talented enough to go up and get him in the first round once upon a time. And Brandon Aiyuk is a really good football player, and he's only 26 years old. So I only bring this to you because there's a chance that our general manager, Adam Peters, who has a history with Brandon Aiyuk, has a history with the San Francisco 49ers and could do a deal with them. We see this all the time where general managers reach back and grab a guy that they're very familiar with and always are open to doing business with the destination from which they came. I wouldn't rule out a Brandon Aiyuk to Washington scenario. Now, I just wanted to ask, which one are you taking? Which one would you prefer? You already know how I feel. I've answered this question multiple times. A number of people have asked me during live streams, what's my level of interest in Brandon Aiyuk? I've already told you how I feel, but I'm interested in how you guys feel, okay? Because this isn't something that you just ignore and brush aside. There are reasons why you should consider this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't rule it out because of Adam Peters' history with Brandon Aiyuk and the San Francisco 49ers organization. That said, are you taking the wide receiver draft class field in the 2024 draft, or are you taking Brandon Aiyuk? It's very simple. Because if you trade for Brandon Aiyuk, you're not drafting a receiver in the 2024 NFL draft. I think we are all clear that Washington needs to come away with at least one wide receiver in this year's draft, And I fully expect them, as many of you out there do, expect them to come away with one. So if you trade for Aiyuk, you're not getting a receiver in the draft because now you don't need one, right? So are you more comfortable with Washington selecting a receiver, say in the second or third round of this year's draft? Or are you more open to the idea and more intrigued by the idea of trading for an established player in this league in Brandon Aiyuk? And as some have brought up during these discussions that we've had on these live streams, Brandon Aiyuk has a history with Jaden Daniels. If Washington is to draft Daniels at number 2 overall, Aiyuk and Daniels both played together at Arizona State. So there's that as well. There is a connection between those two. Don't know how close they are. That was a while ago, obviously. But there is a connection there, as I mentioned. So something to think about. Where do you stand on this? More interested in just taking a receiver, not going to cost you as much, more cost effective, but he's not established and you don't know what you're getting, versus a known commodity that you're going to have to pay, which is the reason why there's a squabble right now, is because he's looking to get paid. So you're going to have to not only give up draft capital, but you're going to have to pay him. But you know what you're investing in. You know what you're getting. You're getting a guy who has put up top flight numbers in the NFL at the receiver position. And so what says you? Move that aside. All right. So I need you to answer that in the comment section. Aiyuk, or are you taking the 2024 NFL wide receiver field? Okay. Taking one of those guys, or you taking Brandon Aiyuk? Which one says you? Move that aside. Got another scenario. So we were having some very healthy discussions. This is why I love having these live streams with you guys, because oftentimes things that I don't necessarily think about, you guys bring to the forefront. We have dialogue, whether I'm wrong or I think I'm right, and then ultimately figure out that I'm wrong, or, whatever the case may be, we go through this process and we come to this conclusion. And something kind of happened the last 2 streams. The first of which was, one thing in particular, because I've talked about Washington trading up for a tackle for a while now, and many people have suggested that Washington do so. And I think the one guy that you trade up for at the tackle position is Amarius Mims. But it is 2 things, really, because somebody said, what if Olu Fashanu falls in the draft and you're able to trade up? Would you do it? So let's say that the target area is 21. I think the Dolphins sit at 21, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. But let's just say the target area is 21, okay? You've got a decision to make between 2 positions, tackle or tight end, okay? So on the last live stream, someone said, if Brock Bowers falls to 20, the early 20s, would you consider trading up for him? And I said, well, my thing is, my initial reaction is always to dismiss something like that because I don't think it's going to happen. And I still don't think it's going to happen. But we went through the exercise anyway. And upon doing so, what we ultimately uncovered is that if things fall a certain way, it is very possible, like more than the 10% I was probably thinking in my mind that it could happen. It's more like 35, 40% chance that Brock Bowers, somebody's going to fall in this draft if you get 4 quarterbacks going in the top, 4 picks. And then presumably right after the 4 quarterbacks, you get 2 wide receivers going. And then after that, you think there's going to be a slight run on tackles, right? Mixed in with a corner, edge rusher, or 2, et cetera, right? So seeing how all of that is going to play itself out. The guy that could be the odd man out here is Brock Bowers in terms of falling down from a guy that probably started this process off as a surefire top 10 pick, no worse than top 12 or 15, to, hey, he could fall into the 20s somehow. And going through that exercise, there aren't many teams that truly need a tight end. Now, not needing one and wanting one are 2 different things. You could not need a tight end, but are the tight ends on your roster Brock Bowers? The answer is no, okay, for most teams. So a team like Denver, for instance, they could use a Brock Bowers. Yeah, they drafted a tight end Greg Dulcich like 2 years ago, but is Greg Dulcich going to stop you from taking Brock Bowers? Probably not, right? But again, as we went through that exercise, there was a path to Brock Bowers landing at 21 where you could conceivably come up and try to get him. I think you probably have to wait until 23, which is where the Cardinals more likely will be if they were to make the trade with the Minnesota Vikings and take those 2 first-rounders off of the Vikings' hands in exchange for the 4th overall pick. That would give the Arizona Cardinals 3 first-round picks. One of them they probably won't need. 23 is the one that I think they'd be willing to part ways with. Or at least that's the one that becomes probably the most attractive. Maybe 27 if you're looking to get back into the first round for one of these quarterbacks. But that's no here nor there. Our thing would be 23. And whatever the case may be, Olu Fashanu was in a similar position. Someone asked, if Olu Fashanu fell, would you consider going up to get him? Hell yes, I would consider to go up and get him. Yeah, him and Amarius Mims are the 2 guys that have a chance to fall. I don't think Olu Fashanu is going to fall in this draft, though. But I think Mims has a legitimate shot of falling, and that's the guy that I'm kind of, honed in on. But if Olu Fashanu or Amarius Mims, one of those tackles, falls to 21, or Brock Bowers falls to 21, which one are you taking? I think I know what most of the fan base is going to say, but if this is such a deep draft class of tackles as everyone suggests, there's only one Brock Bowers, right? There are a lot of tackles that you can find in this draft. If it's as deep a draft class of tackles as you say it is, as everyone says it is, there's a lot of tackles that you can find that you can plug in that can start for you. May not be Pro Bowl-esque, all pro, but they're guys that can get the job done. There's only one Brock Bowers in this draft, okay? There's a huge gap between Bowers and the next best tight end in this draft class. He's a true difference maker at a position that is vastly becoming important in this league as a chess piece position. Are you more inclined to trade up for the tackle or the tight end? Leave it down in the comment section. Brock Bowers, are you trading up for him if he gets to 21, or are you trading up for Amarius Mims / Olu Fashanu? One of the 2 if they fall to 21. Which one would you prefer to go up and get? I think I know where the fan base's head is, but I want to see what you guys would do. I'm fascinated to see what the answers are here because there's no wrong answer, okay? There's no wrong answer, but I still want to see what you guys say. So I've given you 2 different scenarios, right? Taking Brandon Aiyuk or you're taking the 2024 wide receiver field. So essentially what I'm asking, would you prefer to trade for Aiyuk, a known commodity that's still young, 26 years old, has a history with Adam Peters, our general manager, going to have to give up some draft capital, going to have to pay him, but you know what you're getting? Or would you prefer to just stand pat, keep your draft picks intact, keep your cap situation intact, and draft a receiver, not knowing what you're going to get out of this guy? He could turn out to be Josh Doctson 2.0 for all we know. He could be Antonio Gandy Golden. You have no idea what you're getting, but you're willing to roll the dice. He could be, look, we've had a really rough go of it here at the receiver position with De'Ami Brown, Antonio Gandy Golden, Josh Doctson. We can go on and on and on. We haven't had a tremendous amount of success at the receiver position. It could turn out to be another one of those guys, or it could turn out to be another Terry McLaurin, for all we know. It could turn out to be a stud. We'll see what ultimately happens, but what says you? Known commodity in Aiyuk, trade for him, pay him, add him to the mix, gives you a hell of a wide receiving core, or you draft a receiver, probably somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd round, so day 2 of the draft. Not going to cost you any, draft capital other than the pick you're spending on that player. And it's a low-cost fix to a position that needs more added to it. What says you? And then also, you got an opportunity to trade back into the first round to the 21st pick, somewhere in that neighborhood, 21, 22, 23. And Olu Fashanu and Amarius Mims have fallen, or one of the 2 have fallen, and Brock Bowers has fallen. Washington has an opportunity to trade up to get one of them. Which one are you trading up to acquire? Leave it down in the comment section. Can't wait to read your responses. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.